morning. I'm here at the Atlanta Christian Chapel. I've been blessed by God to be called here to do some work. One of my many hats that I wear in my ministry that I've been called to, I believe, that God's asked me to do is to help take care of this chapel. I've made some videos, tours of the Atlanta Christian Chapel. You can go back in the channel and check that out. But today we're installing a brand new gas range. And in the process of that installation, you that might know Atlanta, Idaho, or check it out, you'll find that Atlanta, Idaho is in a very remote location in central Idaho. And propane is the gas of choice. There's no, although there is a small town here with city water, there's no city sewer, and there's no gas piping in the streets or anything like that. So you have to have a big propane tank for your stove. And the electrical power, you may know, is produced by a hydro plant on the middle fork of the Boise River, just downriver a little ways. And it's a little small independent power company that supplies the power, and it's probably best not to have an electric stove, because when the power goes out you still want to be able to cook. And so we, like we do in my town, at least most of us anyway, we have propane stoves. And the stoves, when you buy them, generally come set up for natural gas, for city piped in natural gas. And so you have to convert them. And we're going to do that today. It's pretty simple. All you do is change the orifices from natural gas to LP, Liquified Petroleum Gas. And this, I just have these ensconced in this, or clamped down with the vice grips so they don't fall out of here, are the new orifices. These are the propane orifices. There's 4 of them for the burners. I've got one loose here I'm going to show you. And this big one is for the oven. Now this is an interesting thing. I'm going to go show you the stove that we're taking out. It has been converted as well, but we had a little trouble with that, and I'll explain that when I go show you. So that's those were just in the holder, and those come on that little holder, and they're generally screwed down or whatever to the back of the stove. And here's a new propane orifice for the stovetop burner. Says in the directions, and I've not done too many of these, I don't know, but that propane orifices are silver, they're colored silver, and natural gas are colored brass. So there's a brand new liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, or propane we call it normally, orifice for the stovetop. So this was a donation from an anonymous donation. We were able to purchase this gas stove, and one of the reasons we have it, I guess I'll take you off and show you that right now, is that it's not all electronic. Most of the stoves nowadays, you'll see up here a big array of buttons and lights and gizmos that all work off electricity and are electronically induced, of course. Well, this one, and in that means that the oven has an electronic valve that turns it on and off and adjusts the temperature and all that. Well, this just works like that. Just like in the olden days. And that way, when the power goes off, you can still cook your turkey for Christmas, Thanksgiving, pies for fall, cookies throughout the summer, chicken, roast beef, whatever the case may be, right? You don't want to be bound up with a bunch of electricity. And so that's why we're installing this very simple, very clean stove. The one thing I don't know about it, of course, most all stoves nowadays too come with this piezoelectronic lighting. And I would assume, and I believe so, we'll find out here in an hour or two probably, that you can turn these on and light them with a match. Now I don't know whether we'll be able to do that with the oven or not. It is a nice thing when you can, but regardless, we don't have to worry about electronics being burnt out by the power fluctuations that are common here and like that. So I'll show you a little more about that other stove and the end result here in a bit. Well, I'm back in the kitchen of the United Christian Chapel, and this is the stove we're going to take out. It has been converted from natural gas to propane earlier, but there was a problem with it. We could not get the oven to work right, and through some investigation I found the cure on YouTube, but I found out that many other people have had this very same problem, and the reason is there's two different ways that the conversion is done on an oven burner in a gas stove. One is that you simply change the oven orifice, that big brass one that I showed you in the first clip, or, and I'll take you off the thing and show you, or you actually adjust the orifice itself that comes with the stove. You don't change it, you just screw it down, and it actually gets less air going in, and the adjustment for the gas and air mixture is then correct. We didn't know that, and like I said, many people have had this problem. It seems to be some sort of conspiracy by the gas people that you're going to have to call the guy to get him to fix the stove, when in reality that none of the publications that came with this stove, or well, actually in the publication that came with this new stove, it does state that you cannot adjust the oven burner orifice. It has to be replaced. But on this stove, and it did not say this anywhere in its nomenclature, that that this orifice had to be adjusted. And the way that's done is you just simply turn the threads down, turn the orifice down to where it screws down in the base further, and that adjusts the air to where it's proper mixture. I've got the light on here, and I'll just show you that real quick. So, right under here, you see, that's the gas regulator over there, where the gas comes in, and it goes over to, unfortunately, an electronic valve over there, and that's one reason we're replacing this with a simpler thing. The light might be a little bright, but there. You see that brass fitting there? Come on, adjust you. We'll back up a little ways. I want to focus. You see that brass fitting in the middle of that oven burner, the base of the oven burner. That had to be screwed down, and it fixed the problem completely. Very simple, but like I said, not in the nomenclature, and why in the world not? Anyway, I'll come back off of here and show you this stove. Like I said, it does have some electronic features to it. Which, like right there, are all the oven controls. And you saw the manual valve control that was on the other stove that we're installing. So in the long run, this is going to be a much better fit for Atlanta, Idaho. And I hope, like I've showed you before, we had a turkey dinner here for Thanksgiving and a Thanksgiving service. I hope to do that this year and use the brand new stove. So I'll show you the stove in performing here in a few minutes, hour or so probably, and we'll be on. So since we're making a video, we just as well do the whole thing. I decided. So gas appliances are really quite simple in many ways. I want to show you how simple it is to change the orifices on the burners. This looks like a complicated piece of equipment. Here's the piezo lighting thing and the tubes where the gas comes up and goes into the burner. Man, I'm going to have to take that all apart. Well, yeah, just like that. You see, they just set down over the orifices, and that's the brass ones, like I said, for the natural gas. So I'll replace those and show you what that looks like. Well, I guess you don't really need to know, because it'll look just like that, except for there'll be silver ones in there. And what you just do is set that right back on there, and the stove's ready to go again. This is a beautiful thing also for cleaning and everything else. Just really cool. Pretty simple. Well, I'll change those orifices now, and make sure you use a good end wrench, a box end wrench on these, so you don't damage them. And be careful when you're doing this work. Here we are under the stove. Anyway, some of this isn't really technical work, but you want to do it properly. And I've put a 3/4 end wrench, a box end wrench, on the fitting that's down into the stove that goes into the gas piping. And just simply take this 5/16 inch wrench, make sure it's on square, and loosen this up and turn that out, just to make sure that you don't, you're not squeezing that or turning this fitting out, loosening it up at all. Then simply place the new propane orifice in. Don't cross thread it. Screw it in and gently tighten it down. You're not working on a Caterpillar tractor, so just take it easy. And there it is. Okay, the next step, I don't want to get that cut off, but is to change the regulator. The regulator on this stove is right here, and that's where the gas piping from the supply will come in. It's got a pipe plug on it, simply to keep the dirt and things out. It's pretty simple. I'm not going to get real close on it because it doesn't matter. There's a lot of different ones. This one, simply you unscrew the wrench on here, and it was not super tight. You unscrew the cap on the top of the regulator, take this out, and depending on what kind it is, I'm going to have to refer to the directions because it's a different kind than I've worked with before. I think actually we'll just simply take this out of the cap and turn it over, but I don't know that. So right now I'm going to refer to the directions because it is a different kind that I've worked with before. I'll check it out. So like I said, I'm reading up on the gas regulator because it was an unfamiliar one to me. This is the cap that I took off. It is quite a bit like swapping out the kind I'm familiar with, but it is a little different because it's a plastic piece in here that regulates the gas going through. There are descriptions for both kind of regulators here. I said many kinds. There's at least two. There's two listed here. So anyway, it is quite simple. Just take and put a little pressure on that, turn counterclockwise, remove that plastic piece, turn it over. On the inside of this it says natural, N-A-T, and that's what you would see when you looked in there. You turn it over and place it back in the cap, little pressure down, and turn counterclockwise this time, or clockwise, excuse me, this time, and it locks in place there. And right on top of this little plastic nub in the middle, it says LP, Liquified Petroleum Gas, Propane. So that's it. Screw it back in. You don't have to reef on this big time. Just like I said, you're not working on a Caterpillar tractor. Just put it back together and snug it down. You're done with the regulator. We'll move on to converting the oven burner now, which we have to replace in this model, replace the burner orifice. Okay, well, let's stop and have a little cup here. Okay, I have replaced the oven orifice, and it's that brass piece there. I had showed you on the other oven, and I did have to remove the burner. There's a screw holding it right here, and those two that are in the back, just to get that out. And I'm going to vacuum this out since it was a dusty old ride in to Atlanta, 40 miles of dirt road and rough road, 40 miles of bad road right now. Anyway, I'll vacuum this out, put it back together, and we'll stick it up against the wall, hook the gas up, and test it out. Preparing to remove the old stove here. Actually, it's only been in here a few months, but like I said, we did have a problem with it. So we've got to unhook that, but first, and most importantly, right there is the gas valve, and every gas appliance has to have one right at its termination, you know, right where it's going to sit. You have to have that. So anyway, make sure you turn the gas off before you loose this hose up, right? Okay. Out with the old. And in with the new. Wiggle this in here carefully.
Set it down as gently as possible. Remove the hand truck and hook her up.
So you saw me take the old stove out. We're ready almost to put the new one in. There were a couple of unanswered questions. There was no way for me to know with any certainty where I was and where the stove was, many miles apart. So we didn't know whether we had enough length on the gas hose, which is here, and the regulator is in two different places. One was at the bottom, the other at the top, and as you can see, we have plenty. We really do. And the other was when I uncrated the new stove, I see on the back of the regulator there was just an open orifice. You saw me take the pipe cap out of there, the thing that keeps the dirt from there, the little plastic cap. Anyway, the fitting that was on the old stove and matches up to the gas line is the right one. We're good to go. Well, I'm a real happy camper, even though I'm not really camping. Got the stove all hooked up, the gas and the electricity. One thing I don't like about this stove, and I think it's, I don't know if they even make them now, it's hard enough to find them with the manual gas valve, that you don't have all the electronic controls for that, but that the oven would have a pilot light. I'm going to investigate that a little bit, because you do have to have electricity for the oven to work. It has to have the right amperage for the igniter, and it glows red, and then it opens a gas valve electrically, and that's just the way they work. With a pilot light, you still could have Thanksgiving and dinner, and Christmas dinner when the power was out. Well, regardless, anyway, it works great. I'm gonna come off here and show you. The flames are beautiful. They're exquisite compared to what we've been used to here. It just lights so wonderfully. See, the cooktops, they will probably work. The gas will come on regardless. And so they work well. In fact, these have a real wonderful adjustment on them for simmering. You got to be pretty gentle with them down towards the end, but turn it way down. See, it's just barely running there. That's beautiful. Really a nice stove. So we're blessed. Works great. The oven works. The flame on it, I don't think it needs any adjustment at all. For all I know about it, I still have to replace the cover over the valve there, but you'll see the igniter heating up, and as soon as it draws the proper amperage, so as it gets brighter and brighter, it's accepting more juice. See, there it just started right up quite beautifully. And the flame is wonderful. There's no reason for me to try to adjust that. So I'm going to leave it the way it is, and we're going to prepare for, well, it's September 11th. God bless all you who remember that day. Anyway, we're going to prepare for a Thanksgiving dinner here at Atlanta, and praise God. So that's it. Until next time, happy cooking.